Hello and welcome back to my RC channel. I'm AndyRC and today I'm going to be checking out the BFight 210. At least that's what I think it is called. There seems to be some confusion between different websites on the naming of this model, and I think that is because of the similarities to BFlight. But if I check out the box that it came in, it's listed as BFight 210, and then on the on-screen display of the model in the craft name it's also in there as BFight F210. So for the purpose of this video I'm going to be calling it the BFight 210, and I'm pretty excited to check out this model because recently I've been doing some lightweight 5-inch builds on the channel. So I did the Ultralight Floss Build, and I think this one came in at about 280 grams without this GoPro mount, and then 293 grams with the GoPro mount. That's without a battery, of course. And then I built the Blackbird 208, but I think they're listing it as the Blackbird 210 now. This one's a little bit heavier. I think it was 310 grams, and I think that is because I used all separate ESCs there and a full-size VTX, and also these white top, red bottom 2306 motors, a little bit heavy as well, so 310. And the lightest model that I actually have is this TS195. This one comes in at 263 grams, and that is because it's using a very lightweight frame with carbon fiber, and I think it might be plywood there as well. And yeah, it's still in one piece, this one. I really like this one as well. And then this one I like because it's a bind and fly, or RTF, whatever you want to call it. And this one, with its propellers on there, its battery strap, it comes in at 276 grams, which is really good for a bind and fly, because all the other models I've had to build up either as a kit or put it together myself. And this one is pretty cheap as well. I think it's about £140, around about that price, but I'll link it in the description because these prices change on a daily basis. So there is a little bit of controversy with these lightweight models because, as you can see, the arms are very thin. So we either have the option of having a lightweight model with thin arms that could potentially break in a crash, or have a heavier model that's not going to have quite as much punch, but it's going to be stronger. So I have had a few instances of these arms breaking on these lightweight models. I had the arm break on the Floss, and I also had the arm break on this guy as well. So if you do a lot of crashing, then these models aren't for you. However, if you want the most amount of performance, then lightweight is definitely the way to go, and they have really thought about the design of this model actually. Now, looking at the arms, they are very thin, but you can see that they taper towards the edges there, and they get thicker towards the middle, which is good. And then when I'm looking at the rigidity of this frame, there's no movement there whatsoever. We have got 4mm carbon fiber here, so it's fully carbon fiber, unlike the Eachine Wizard. By the way, have you seen that they've announced if you bought an Eachine Wizard they're going to send you carbon arms, I think? So I don't know whether we're going to get carbon plates as well, but anyway, that's a different model. So let's take a look at the specs of this guy. So the motors, I've never heard of this make before. It is called BFlight, I think. I don't know how you say that, but I've not heard of it before. So the motors are 2205 2300 kV, so fairly low kV motor. One thing that I've learned with these lightweight builds is that they do benefit from a higher kV motor, so I'll have to see how it flies on the lower kV. All my other models, I think this one here, the Ultralight, yeah, that's a 2206. And let's have a look at the TS195. I think that one might be 2206 as well. No, that one's 2205, but 2600 kV on that one. And then, of course, 2750 kV on this one. So this one has the lowest kV motors, so I'll have to see how it flies. It should be fine, though, because weight is the most important thing with these lightweight models, obviously. So we have got a Ccd camera up the front here, and let's have a look. So it's a 2.1mm lens. Now apparently it's a Fox ear camera, but I can't see Fox ear written on it anywhere, but you do get given a manual for the camera and it says it's a Fox ear camera, so there you go. We've got 30 amp 4-in-1 ESCs flash with BLHeli-S, and then we've got an Omnibus F3 with an SD card in there, and then we have a VTX built in there as well. So yeah, we have got a stack there, and we've also got some nice braided motor wires as well. XT60 on the back there, and then it has various receiver options. This is the D8 FrSky version, which I wasn't too sure about, because this receiver here, it's the one that is used on a lot of the micro quads, and I wasn't sure whether the range would be good enough for a 5-inch, so I'll have to check that out. But other than that, I like it. The frame is very similar to the Blackbird, actually. If you look at it there, the design almost the same, just different shapes there. I think I prefer the arms of this one. So you'll notice there that I have added a buzzer here. This wasn't on the original. It's about the only thing that it's missing, really. And then another thing that I've done as well, you can see we have the antenna coming up here. This is for the 5.8 gigahertz, and this is something that people are doing on these lightweight builds, is doing away with the cloverleaf antenna for weight purpose. And I have added a heat shrink here to it because this was just flopping around, and yeah, I'm still concerned about that getting caught in the propellers, but yeah, it shouldn't be too bad. What is good about this is if you want to do away with this, you can, because it's on a connector here. It's a really beefy connector as well. I forget the name of it, but I'll put that up here, so you can get a replacement SMA connector if you want to do that. It will add a little bit of weight, but you should get better reception out of it. Loads of space on the top for a GoPro. You don't get given a battery strap, which is a shame, so I've nicked this Pyrodrone strap here for my battery. You're not given a battery as well. The only thing that you are given that you don't see here is a extra set of props. So these are the gem fan props. Let's take a look at the box here. So yeah, come in this nice bag. These are the Gem Fan durables. They are a 5152. You get some blue ones and some clear ones. I really like these clear ones, so I've stuck those on there. And then we have these directional locking nuts as well, which is nice. And then we have got, like I say, it's because it's a Fox ear camera. It shows you how to set it up through the on-screen display, but you're not given the controller for that. And then we have got the manual for the VTX, which we'll talk about in a little bit. And then you're not given any more information at all. No BFlight setup, although it did come flash with BFlight 3.17. I've updated that to 3.2 because I've updated my configurator for the new features for 3.2. And yeah, so I've added a couple of the things to the on-screen display as well. Right, so I've removed the screws from the top plate so we can take a look inside. Now, a good thing about this model is all of the screws are in extremely tight, so you have to be careful with the tools that you use in order to get them out, but I suppose it's a good thing that they're in really tight. So this top plate here, if you look, I can just remove the connector, really beefy connector, which is good. And then we have got the VTX on the top here. Now, some interesting things about the VTX. It is a switcher, so it switches from 25 milliwatt to 200 milliwatt. There's no 600 milliwatt. However, I do believe there's going to be a 600 milliwatt version of this VTX coming out. So it's got 48 channels. And something that's really interesting about this is that it can be controlled from the S-bus. So you can see here, see this white wire? that is connected up to the S bus of the F3 flight controller, and then your aux 2 or channel 6 will cycle through the 8 channels of the band that is currently selected. Now I'm not too sure about this, to be honest, because my aux 2, I usually have it set up for my modes, so make sure that you don't do that, otherwise when you change modes it's going to switch the channel on your VTX and you'll crash. So I'm still deciding whether that's a good thing, because you can't change the band. We have got some lights on here and it does explain the light configuration here. So you can see we've got some blue lights and some green lights, and the green lights, those are the different channels. You can see there, so no lights is channel 1, and then 3 lights is channel 8, and then we have got the blue lights which goes through the different bands there. You can only change the channels through channel 6 or aux 2. So the way I've set this up is I've set it to ARM on a switch for aux 1, and then I've set up a 3-position switch for aux 2 for changing the frequency. And then on aux 3 I've set up my modes, and then aux 4 I've set up for a buzzer, but like I say, I added the buzzer. That's something that's essential for me around here with the grass there. And then we also have got the power switcher as well, and is that on here? So that's in Chinese, I'm not sure. Oh yeah, there you go, look. So it's a short press of this button here to go through the 8 different channels, then like a 2-second press to go through the different bands, and then it's a 10-second press, and then you'll get this option here, and we have these single lights here for 25 milliwatt, and then these single lights in the middle for 200 milliwatt, and then 600 milliwatt for a different version. And it's this way up, that's another thing as well. So your lights are here, so 1 2 3 1 2 3, and it says there, look, that's the grouping of them there, so it's in that order. I don't like these light configurations whatsoever, because you have to take this with you. I much prefer a little LED thing on there that told me the channel and the band, etc. But yeah, they've decided to use this light configuration. And you can see there as well, just about access the D8 receiver. Under there you can access that button, so it does look like it's all designed. So when I put this top plate on there, you can see we still get to the button there, but it's quite difficult to see the light, so yeah, definitely bear that in mind. One thing I want to mention about this model is it's strange how they have wired it up. Can you see there? This is the all-in-one ESC board, and that has got a current sensor on it. And then if we come to this way here, then that output there just links straight to the flight controller, so your PWM and the ground. And then if you look on the F3 Omnibus flight controller, there's another current sensor here, and if you look at the way this is meant to be wired, your XT60 is meant to go into the VBAT here, so you've got a ground on this side, positive on this side, it's meant to get wired that way, and then this side here is meant to go out to your ESCs. So I tried to get the current sensor working, and all of the time it just showed that it was drawing 50 amps. So I don't know whether that's because I've upgraded to BFlight 3.2 or because this isn't wired up correctly. However, I want to test it in its current form before I go messing around resoldering it. And I'm not too bothered about not having a current sensor as long as I've got my voltage, but it would seem a shame not to have it when the feature is there. So next I want to talk about battery. So with this being a lighter model, I'm going to be using a smaller battery. This is a 4S 1000 milliamp Turnigy graphene battery, and I should get more performance out of it, but I still should get around about a 4-minute flight time with it. So that actually needs charging, so what I'm going to do is just power this up using a R-line battery to show you the VTX working. So make sure that you plug the antenna in before doing that. I've also set a model up on my Tyrannus So let's plug in the battery there. Just wait for the beeper to go off there. So these are the lights that I was talking about. So you've got your blue lights at the top there, and then the green lights for the channel, and then I can show you here. So I've set up this switch actually for aux 2, so when I move it along you'll see the green light move, and then that changes through the 8 different channels there. So yeah, make sure that you don't knock it as well while you're flying. Like I say, I'm not too sure about that, might end up disconnecting that, but we shall see. Okay, let's go for the line of sight. With this one I'm going to be very careful on the throttle. Yeah, it hovers on just a couple of clicks. Now I have reversed the battery because that connector's pretty long. Oh, it's so lightweight. Alright, let's go for a punch. Yeah, as expected, a ton of power. And drawing a lot of amps as well, because the beeper going off at the top of the throttle. It's probably these props, that is. Into acro mode. Oh, I like this. Because it's lower kV motors, it's not screaming its head off either. So, not so antisocial, which is good really. So this isn't the stock tune. I have changed the PIDs, so if these are any good on the FPV flight, I will overlay them. I'm hearing a little bit of like a vibration just there. I just wonder, can you hear it? It's not really showing itself. It'll probably benefit from some soft mounts on the motors. It's a little bit of resonating there, I think, with the flight controller. But it's not bad at all. Look at that. So much performance. It could even be the PIDs. But I would say it might be vibrations. Let's have a look again. Just there. Yeah, a little shake on the yaw. Yeah, I think soft mounts would fix that. It's ever so slight. Other than that, I like it. Fly nice. No jitters at a higher throttle. Oh, this is nice. Could be my new favourite here. Right, let's come in for a landing and see how I get on FPV. So I did play around with the PIDs a little bit, and there is still a slight jitter on the yaw at just one throttle position, and it's nowhere near as bad as the likes of the Shuriken X1. And one good thing about this model is that because it's in a stack, it should be easy to soft mount the flight controller, and I can soft mount the motors as well. That is going to mean more weight though, but I think it'll be worth it with this one because I just love flying it so much. And if you want to fly it like that out of the box, then you know, you're still going to have a good experience with it. You see, I've been revisiting all of these models because I always think there's room for improvement. So just because I modify something doesn't mean that it needs doing. Like with the Wizard, I changed a lot of stuff, but I was still having a good experience with it out of the box, although some other people weren't anyway. That's a different story. Yes, I really like this one. There is a tiny bit of noise coming through to the video feed, but it's hardly noticeable at all. And one thing I was amazed with is the reception in general. So I thought I'd be switching out this dipole antenna. I'm not. I'm going to leave it because there's hardly any breakup. I think the fact that it's so long and comes out the top means that you get a really good video reception. You'll notice as well on the far right of the on-screen display, I've got the average sal voltage as well. That's something with BFlight 3.2. It's not out yet, so I've installed like a pre-release version, if you're wondering how did I get that on there. But yeah, I actually really like this model, and I'm gonna persevere with the soft mount, I think, because I think it's a cracking deal. It is really cheap, and I know a lot of people are going to be saying this or the Wizard. For me, it's this. It's lightweight. Yeah, if you don't want 5S, because it's a bit of a novelty 5S, and you are fine with that, then this is a great model. It's probably got more performance, or at least the same performance as the Wizard has on a 5S. It's much lighter, and it's a lot less antisocial as well. Now, as to the question, should I remove the S-Bus from the VTX, I got the answer straight away on this flight. This flight ends in crash, and that is because I let the battery voltage get too low. And what happened there is the system fail-safed very shortly, and when it fail-safed, of course, it changed the PWM value of the AUX 2 and switched the channel. So even though I would have regained control of it, the VTX channel changed. So I'm definitely going to be removing the S-Bus of the VTX, and I'm going to switch the props out as well because I think they are drawing slightly too many amps. That's what they do with these models. When we reduce the weight, they think, right, we can use more hefty props, and yeah, for me the voltage sag was too much. You can see it going down to 12 at some points in this video. This is a lightweight model, so I'm probably going to be sticking on the HQ durables or the DAL prop, the 5040s, I think. But yeah, like I say, I really like this model. Good flight time, 4-minute flight time. Just a couple of things that need tweaking, like I say, soft mounts on either the motors or the flight controller, different props, and remove that S-Bus signal wire from the VTX, and we should be good to go. Anyways, I'm going to put a link in the description to this model. I recommend it. And I'm going to leave you with me crashing, I think. So, as always, thanks so much for watching. Please continue to subscribe. Cheers.